Welcome to the Walk Talks podcast, a resource produced by Southland Christian Ministries located in Ringgold, Louisiana. Our purpose is to provide you with daily devotions so that you can faithfully grow in your relationship with Christ each and every day. We hope these truths will be an encouragement to you as you hear from God's Word today.
Hello, my name is Erik Hanson. I'm the project manager here at Southland. I've been here for coming up on 5 years in March. I want to bring you today a challenge that the Lord has really been working on me for. I gave this challenge to our teen group at church a couple weeks ago, but it's really a challenge on humility, and that humility is a kind of a prerequisite, if I could say it that way, for wisdom. So humility is a prerequisite for wisdom. This challenge is really near and dear to me because it's really what God's been working on me for the last many, many years. He's still teaching me. I still haven't fully learned this lesson, but he's just been showing me again and again how I need to humble myself before him. I don't know if this is everybody's experience, but I've just noted that I keep having the same lesson taught to me again and again and again through various means, but I often have the visual of a parent, and they're holding both sides of their child's face saying, pay attention, listen, focus, dude. And I feel like that image sticks in my mind because it's very visceral, because I have two kids, and I just imagine that that's what God is doing to me on this lesson of humility and how much I need wisdom. I am not by nature a humble person or just a meek person. I am very much a type A, competitive, never satisfied with the status quo. And probably one of my biggest struggles is my own arrogance and my own pride. And the Lord's been working on me for a very long time. He's used different situations, different people, and even my own kids to show me that He is in control, that I am not sufficient, that He has a plan for me, and that fighting that plan is foolishness, that He will win. I feel like we need to define a couple terms. When I'm talking about humility, I'm not necessarily talking about in a secular sense, or if you looked up in Webster's dictionary. I'm talking about more in a spiritual sense, that true humility is to see ourselves as we actually are, fallen in sin and helpless without God. That definition is not original with me. It was from a website online, but I felt like that was the best definition for the purposes of what I'm going for. And then wisdom, definition of wisdom. Mike Graham has been going through Proverbs with our teens for a while now, and I thought he had a great definition of wisdom. It says, having knowledge and understanding. It implies that you have the knowledge base and the understanding to make the best use of that knowledge, whether that is in a spiritual sense, whether that is in a kind of physical, everyday, today, day in, day out kind of a situation. But regardless, the Bible is very clear in Proverbs that we are to desire wisdom, that with all getting, to get that understanding. Proverbs 4:7. There is no way for me to possibly cover every passage that talks about wisdom, so please forgive me. But we'll go ahead and start. But this will probably be a 2, maybe a 3-part series for the podcast. I do want to emphasize, you guys, that wisdom is not just in Proverbs. It's laced throughout the whole Bible. So we're going to actually start in 1 Kings, and then we're going to end in James. 1 Kings 3 is actually the passage that we're going to. 1 Kings 3, starting in verse 5. I'm going to go ahead and read a couple verses, just bear with me. In Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. And God said, ask what I shall give thee. And Solomon said, thou hast showed unto thy servant David my father great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth, and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. And now, O Lord my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father. And I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people, that cannot be numbered or counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this, thy so great a people? So this is Solomon, obviously, because that's how it starts out. But this is referred to as Solomon's prayer. Solomon's prayer for wisdom. When at the time of this, I couldn't find an exact time frame, but we know that Solomon was king at this time. We know he wasn't old, he was still young. And so from the research that I've done, roughly a good guess, he's about 20 years old or so. For a 20-year-old man to have the mindset that he has when God gives him kind of this carte blanche, here, you can have whatever you want. That is quite a statement for God to tell him, hey, whatever you desire, go for it. And not only that, but that Solomon asks what he asks for. He doesn't ask for himself. Actually, we don't have time to go through everything, but the next five or six verses, the Lord praises Solomon for what he asked for what he didn't ask for first. And then, because of what he asked, he gave him more. He gave him the wisdom, but he also gave him the fame and the riches that we all know of Solomon as the wisest man that ever lived. And we could really focus on that, and there's so many different things that we could unpack in this passage, but I really want to focus on Solomon's heart attitude. He did not have a heart attitude of arrogance. Solomon was in the line of Christ. He is the son of David. He knows that. He is a young king. He is standing before God, and God gives him a blank check for whatever he wants. And he asks for wisdom, not for himself, but for the people, that he can do his job well. But not only that, we got to back up even farther. He says, I am but a little child. I know not how to come out or to come in. Well, we know he wasn't like a baby child. Obviously, he's a king. But his mindset was, Lord, I need you. Lord, I can do nothing apart from you. Lord, I am not competent to do this job outside of your help, outside of your hand directly in my life, helping me day in, day out. For who is able to judge this, thy so great a people? He realized the task that was given to him was too big for him. He had to have humility that was being personified in Solomon right here in this passage. He praises God first. He acknowledges where he's at, and then he asks for my servant, him, to have an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. This was not a false sense of humility. This is a young Solomon. This is not a Solomon post wisdom, post all the riches, post the Queen of Sheba, anything. This is not a Ecclesiastes Solomon where all is vanity. No, he doesn't have any of that yet. He hasn't even had the chance to know that. But he didn't ask for anything for his own personal gain. He asked for everything for others that would benefit others, not benefit himself, in the humility that took to have a correct understanding of a right heart attitude before God made all the difference in the world. I mean, we'll never know if he would have asked something different what God would have said or how that may have changed something, but he didn't. And we know that in God's plan, he put this passage here for a reason. And that is a rebuke to me, because oftentimes I think I have it figured out, or that I can kind of make my way through and try to apply things here and there. But no, I need to have full and utter heart dependence on God. And that's what I really want to challenge you with today. Do you have the right heart attitude before God? The one that takes humility. Because especially for Solomon, humility was a prerequisite for wisdom. And so I want to challenge you with that today. Think about, who are you before God? I look forward to the next time we can be together, and that I can continue to go on through with our second point of that humility requires a right view of yourself before God. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Walk Talks podcast. We trust that what you've heard today has challenged your walk with God. It is our prayer that through this podcast, every listener would strive to become more like Christ and faithfully live for Him each and every day. Join us next time, and God bless.